In the last couple of videos, we spent our time exploring the basics of working with dates in JavaScript. In the next couple, this one and the next video, we're going to focus on actually integrating moment into our application. That's going to allow us to display a string to the user when they're editing a note, like last edited 5 hours ago, and it's also going to allow us to finally wire up that select dropdown. Now we're going to be breaking this out into 2 videos, and we'll be breaking it up into multiple little challenges requiring you to use what you've already learned. So let's go ahead and kick things off by deleting all of the old moment code. This was all created as a way to figure out how the library works. We're going to delete it from here though, and we're going to integrate it into the application instead. Right here, there are a few steps for this one. Step 1 is to add the properties onto the note when it first gets created. Otherwise, there's not going to be any data to work with. So we're going to be adding created at and updated at to all new notes. And for each of them, we're just going to store a timestamp, so a number. Now, when a note first gets created, the created at and updated at properties will be exactly the same. The only difference is that created at will never change, updated at will. So step 1 is just set up those 2 properties, their values being the current timestamp. Step 2, whenever someone updates the title or the body, we also want to update updated at, setting it equal to the latest timestamp. This is going to allow us to know when something was last edited. Now, step 3 is just a quick note. You want to delete all of the old notes before testing that things are actually set up correctly. The old notes aren't going to have the timestamp, and that's going to cause problems later on when we actually try to use those timestamps. So for this one, you can just delete all of the old notes and test your work by creating a new note. View the 2 values in local storage and make sure they're the same. Then edit the note and make sure that the value for updated at changes and the value for created at stays the same. All right, take some time to knock this out. Pause the video, test your work, and when you're done, go ahead and click play. How'd you do? That one should not have been too bad. We're going to go ahead and kick things off up above. Up above, what we're going to do is create a timestamp, and then we're going to set it equal to the 2 properties down below. Right here, const timestamp equals. I'm going to create a new moment, and we're going to use the method. That method is value of, the one we explored previously. The value of method is going to give us a number back, and we're going to use that number for the 2 property values. The first property, created at, and just again, you can use any property order you want. This one does not need to come here. It's going to work exactly the same no matter what. Created at with a value equal to timestamp. Then next up, updated at with a value equal to timestamp as well. So when we start things off, both note property values are the same, and that's fine. So that is it for step 1. Step 2 is to update updated at when someone edits the title or the body. So I can save this file, and we can go ahead and move into the code where that happens. Over in notes edit up above, we update note.title and note.body for both of these. This is for the title input. This is for the body text area. All we need to do to complete step 2 is to add another line for each. Right here, I'm going to set note.updated at equal to something. I'm going to set it equal to a brand new timestamp. So I'm going to use moment to get the current time. Then I'll use value of to figure out what the timestamp is. We're going to do the exact same thing down below right here after we set the body. We want to update updated at for both. So that's note.updated at, setting it equal to get a moment, then use value of to get the timestamp. Excellent. And there we have it. That's all we got to do to complete the challenge. We can go ahead and save both of those files. And before we actually test our work, I'm going to move into the storage tab, and I'm going to delete all of the data. I'm going to bring this back over to the right-hand side. In local storage, we have our notes. Let's go ahead and just clear those out. Whoops. Right here, delete notes. Excellent. Now we can refresh things and build up our data from scratch. I'm going to create a new note, and right away we should see some values showing up. If I click it to view the properties, we can see that for created at and updated at, we have the exact same number. It ends in 223816. Now let's go ahead and change the note, either its title or its body, and make sure that value changes. I'm going to type a title in, my title. I can see that things did indeed change. Under the note, title now equals my title, and we can see that the updated at value has increased. It went from 223 to 246. So now that we've seen that title works, let's just test that body works as well. Right here, my body. If I crack open the note properties, once again, we get a new updated at value, 265. So there we go. We were able to use moment to correctly maintain those property values. Created at just gets set once, updated at gets set every single time we change anything. So that is the first of two challenges for this video. Now that all of our notes have that data stored on them, we can actually do something meaningful when it comes to rendering this page, the edit note page. And what we're going to do for that one is include some information about when the note was last updated. I'm going to switch over to the notes edit file since this is the file that contains the code we're actually going to be working with. And up above, I'm just going to paste in my challenge comments. So the first thing that we're going to do is add a place inside of the edit page to put a little bit of information about when the note was last updated. We're going to create a span right between the input for the title and the text area for the body. So step one is to really just create that DOM element. Step two, on the initial page rendering, so when our JavaScript file runs, we currently set the title and the body. You're also going to need to set a value for that span. The format we're going to be using is this, last edited 4 hours ago. It might say something like last edited a minute ago or last edited 1 year ago, depending on when the note was actually last edited. Now you already know how to use moment to get this. So all you need to do is convert the timestamp into a moment instance and then use the correct method, which we explored in the last video, to get that part of the text. Last edited is just static. Step three is to do the same thing we just did here, but not just on page load. We also want to do it when the title changes because updated at changes, when the body changes because updated at changes, or down below when we get a storage update because either the title or the body must have changed if the storage update is firing. So we're going to go ahead and move through all four places. We have the initial page load, title, body, and storage. We want to update that new span for each. So take some time to knock this one out and then test your work. If I refreshed the page, I should see something like last edited a few minutes ago. And if I were to change the title or the body, I would expect that to update to something like last edited just now. All right, pause the video, come back, and when you're done, click play. How'd that one go? Let's go ahead and kick things off by creating that span. Over here between the input and the text area, I'm going to set up my span tag, and I'm also going to come up with a good way to target it by setting up an ID. The ID for this one could be something like last edited. Now we can save the HTML file. We're all done in there. We can move over to Notes Edit and start by adding a selector since we'll be using it in multiple places. Const. I'll call this one date element equals document dot. We're going to use query selector to select something from the DOM, and we're looking for the element with the ID of last edited. Excellent. At least I think that's what I named it. Yes, it is. Great. So we have step one all done. Step two is to set its initial value on the page load. So that's going to happen right here. We set the title, we set the body, and here we're going to set the span. So I'm going to set date element dot text content equal to something new. Now in here, I said we wanted to use something like a template string since part of the string is static, last edited, and the other part is dynamic, coming from moment. So right here, I'll start off with that static part, last edited, and then we're going to move on to the dynamic part. And remember, what we have is a number. We have a timestamp. We have to convert that into a moment instance first. So I'll use moment. Then I'll pass in note dot updated at. Then we're going to use the method which I intentionally did not name in the challenge setup, but we explored in the last video. That is the from now method. If you had to refer to the previous code or the documentation, that is perfectly fine. Whenever I'm working with Moment, I always have the docs up. There's a lot going on there, and there's no way I'm ever going to remember it, regardless of how often I use it, which is pretty much all the time. At this point, we should be able to save things and at least see the results of step 1 and 2. I'm going to save things right here. I have my little message last edited 25 minutes ago, which is indeed correct. When I last filmed the last video was when I had last edited the note. So I'm not going to touch it just yet. I want to keep that in place because what I want to focus on before I edit it is to wire up the live updating. So we have to make sure to change the span when the title, the body, or storage changes. Now, there are a lot of different ways you could have solved this part of the challenge, and all of them are fine. Maybe you just took this line, copied it, and pasted it 3 times. That's great. Maybe you created a function that helped you generate the message and then called that in all instances instead. That would work just fine as well. Now, I already know what it would look like if I copy and pasted the line 3 times, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other way just to give you a different solution. The goal is to create a function that generates this message so we don't have to copy and paste this code all over the place. If we wanted to change the message in the future, we would just have to change a single function instead of all of the instances where it gets used. So what I'm going to do is take this and copy it to the clipboard, this template string, and we're going to move over to notes functions. Down below, I'll create a new one, generate the last edited message. And then right here, I'll have a function const generate last edited. It'll be a function, and I'm going to set this function up to take a single argument. This argument is going to be the time stamp. So what I'm going to do is just return what I had before. Although instead of note.updated@, I am just going to pass in the time stamp. Whoops, that is not temp stamp, that is time stamp. Excellent. So now we have generate last edited, and instead of copying and pasting this code around, we can just call it in all the situations where we need to. So right here, I will call generate last edited. This is going to work exactly as we had before. I just need to pass in note.updated@. I can save things, and over in the browser, I'm still getting my message. Now I can go ahead and take this line and I can add it in the appropriate places. Right here where we update the body, and then down below inside of storage, we already update the title and the body. We're going to update the text content after. Now we're all done. We can go ahead and actually save this file and test things out. So last edited 34 minutes ago. I'm going to update the body, adding an exclamation mark, and I get last updated a few seconds ago. Now, if we were to duplicate this tab, I'll right click and click duplicate. We can see that we have the message last updated a few seconds ago in both of them. That is looking great. And if I were to change it, the message would update and so would the text. The only problem is that the message currently says what it's going to say if I actually edit it. So to test that part too, we could actually go ahead and just manually change the data. So I can look in this long string for updated at, and I could just delete a few of the numbers. It doesn't really matter what I change it to. And now if I refresh things, we have last edited 48 years ago. So clearly I deleted some pretty important numbers. And what we're going to do is just update one of them. So I'll add an exclamation mark. Now it says a few seconds ago. If I go over here, that also was live updated. So our feature is all done. We've gone through steps 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to remove the comments, and that's where we're going to stop for now. So in this one, we got a little bit of experience integrating Moment into the application. We're now tracking the right information, and that's great because in the next video, we're going to wire up the select dropdown, where all we really do is look at the timestamps and figure out which comes first. I'm excited to get to that. So stay tuned, and I'll see you then.